The Senate just passed Trump's big, beautiful bill, with Vice President J.D. Vance courageously casting the tie-breaking vote. So while millions of Americans wait to see whether or not they'll have health care in the near future, the Trump administration is grappling with its own bit of drama, and honestly, it's hard to feel bad for them. A group of hackers known by the singular pseudonym Robert told Reuters that they have 100 gigabytes of emails from accounts of people closely linked to Donald Trump. The emails are said to have been obtained in 2024 during the election. The accounts that were hacked belong to such Trump insiders as his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, Trump's lawyer, Lindsey Halligan, Roger Stone, who needs no introduction, and even Stormy Daniels. Now the hackers are considering selling those emails. So here's what FBI Director Kash Patel told the Daily Beast regarding the breach. The FBI takes all threats against the president, his staff, and our cybersecurity with the utmost seriousness. Safeguarding our administration officials' ability to securely communicate to accomplish the president's mission is a top priority. Anyone associated with any kind of breach of national security will be fully investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Reuters, for its part, authenticated some of the emails that Robert had obtained. Some of the emails discussed a financial arrangement between Trump and RFK Jr., who, as we all know, dropped out of the presidential race last year, endorsed Trump, and now serves in the Trump administration in a position that he really should not be in. There are also settlement negotiations between Trump and Stormy Daniels in the emails. The hackers are said to have links to Iran, but they haven't addressed those claims yet. In August of last year, the Trump campaign accused Iran of hacking its emails. So as far as we know, Politico, the New York Times, and the Washington Post received documents regarding the hack, but for some reason, none of them published anything related to them. Ken Klippenstein, however, also received some documents and published the so-called J.D. Vance dossier, a 271-page research paper where the Trump campaign discussed having J.D. Vance as Trump's running mate. The following month, Klippenstein published another article accusing the Trump campaign of working with Musk to censor his reporting on X. But regarding the current threat from Robert to sell the contents of this batch of hacked emails, Marcy McCarthy, Director of Public Affairs at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, said a hostile foreign adversary was threatening to illegally exploit purportedly stolen and unverified material in an effort to distract, discredit, and divide. This so-called cyber attack is nothing more than digital propaganda, and the targets are no coincidence. This is a calculated smear campaign meant to damage President Trump and discredit honorable public servants who serve our country with distinction. These criminals will be found and they will be brought to justice. Let this be a warning to others. There will be no refuge, tolerance, or leniency for these actions. But please bear with me while I celebrate just a little bit of distress that these terrible, terrible people in Washington are currently under. They have the audacity to tell millions of Americans that they can't have health care because there is no money in the budget for it, while spending nearly $50 million on a military parade that was poorly attended and poorly regarded, while spending over $100 million mobilizing the American military against American citizens, while spending $4 billion to bomb Iran on behalf of Israel, while proposing $75 billion more for ICE. It's more than just a little bit disingenuous when you keep telling people that there is no money, but you somehow have all of this money laying around for parades and federally funded domestic terrorism. It's also rough when we know that they are literally taking Medicaid from people who need it the most and giving it to the wealthiest among us who do not need it at all. They don't even try denying it anymore because they simply cannot. Their best hope is that their voters just aren't paying close enough attention to realize what is going on or who is to blame. So here's some more bad news for Trump. After justifying his attack on Iran by saying that he totally obliterated Iran's abilities to fortify uranium and build a nuclear bomb, a leak came out saying that totally obliterated might have been a bit of an overstatement. Over the weekend, a second leak came out undermining Trump's initial claim, thereby undermining Trump's desperate attempts to appear a strong, masculine leader man. The Washington Post reported that an intercepted call of Iranian officials revealed that the damage Trump's attack did was less than what the Iranians were actually expecting. They thought it'd be worse. According to the Post, the communication intended to be private included Iranian government officials speculating as to why the strikes directed by President Donald Trump were not as destructive and extensive as they had anticipated. Like some others, they spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive intelligence. The intercepted signals intelligence is the latest preliminary information offering a more complicated picture than the one conveyed by the president, who has said the operation completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Of course, the White House is adamant that Trump's attacks were so big and so devastating, and that Iran's nuclear capabilities are, yes, totally obliterated. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt insists that their nuclear weapons program is over. But is it? It was during the Obama administration that Iran had signed the nuclear deal, which did eliminate Iran's ability to produce a nuke. But Trump pulled out of the deal as soon as he became president, essentially giving Iran back the nuclear capabilities that it had previously signed away, the same nuclear capabilities that Trump now wants credit for totally obliterating. Also, by the way, the cost of him giving Iran back its nuclear capabilities only to allegedly bomb them away years later cost taxpayers $4 billion of money that we keep being told we don't have. And now analysts are less certain that Iran's weapons program is over, as Leavitt claims. Analysts broadly agree that the strikes involved immense U.S. firepower, including 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs and Tomahawk cruise missiles that severely damaged the nuclear facilities in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. But the extent of the destruction and how long it may take Iran to rebuild have been hotly debated amid reports that Iran moved its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium before the strike, and that the explosions sealed off the entrance to 2 of the facilities but did not collapse their underground buildings. But while we all know that Trump loves to exaggerate, his supporters haven't caught on as yet. They still think he had over 1 million people at his first inauguration. For his second inauguration, there was no head count of the people attending on the National Mall, and there certainly were no photos of what I can only assume would have been very small crowds, because conveniently, the whole thing had to be moved indoors due to freezing weather. But even when it comes to matters of national security, Trump can't help but default to his own ego and sense of bravado. For him, bigger is always better because he is a child. For him, he can lie without flinching because he has no conscience nor any sense of responsibility to anyone but himself, which is not a good thing when you're the president of an entire nation. And all of that is well and good for him. But for the people who support him, the people who still believe him and everything he says, when will it be enough? When will you be convinced? And how much longer will the rest of us have to suffer your delusions? Trump is tricky. We have to report on him because he is the president. We have to talk about him. The things he says and does are politically, socially, and economically relevant. But as I've said before, I watched this man come to political prominence on Twitter just by tweeting nonsense all day. I watched him get millions of dollars worth of free press just by being exclamatory and inflammatory. I watched his divisive and previously unacceptable, unpalatable rhetoric first become normalized and then justified. It is no surprise that we are here where we are today. The question now is, how do we move forward after having been so deeply wounded and split? Or rather, how do we move forward with ourselves after we allowed ourselves to be used and abused by a narcissist? And I'm not saying that the narcissist is not to blame here, but I'm saying that collectively we all have some serious inner work to do. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.